continuing on with this build, I finished putting the rear diff cover on, which helps support the bearing carriers. New adjustable panhard rod, just waiting for a new bush to turn up because that one's flogged out. And then I've also got the motor and gearbox in. I did have to modify this a little bit to get it to sit where I wanted it to sit. Tail shaft fitted straight back in. It has got a bit of a gap. I'll have to get one. I want to get mine made anyway, so that'll make that the correct length. So far, this is probably a little bit close. It's not bolted up properly. That one's hitting on the chassis rail. And then Chalmers was trying to get the bolts through for the converter. The holes aren't big enough, so I'll have to drill that out slightly. And then I'll give you a look up top. I've got the power glide fitted back up to the original shifter. I did shorten that rod down a little bit, just so I didn't hit that when because obviously the gearbox a little bit further that way, or where that bolts up to is anyway. And I just had to put a little bit of a bend on that bracket coming off that bolt for the gearbox selector. Other than that, it fitted pretty good. All the gears select perfectly, like it doesn't bind up or anything in between. So I'm pretty happy with that. We get to keep the factory shifter in there. That's in park. Reverse, neutral, second, first. It's back into second. Then you got a neutral, reverse, park. That's the motor in. Extractors fit pretty good, which I'm happy with because they were actually for the VB to VK. But I did ring pacemakers to see if they would fit, and they wouldn't give me a solid answer. So, but they do. These ones just are a bit close to the rail there, and I'll just try and bend them in. I'll put a bit of heat, pull them out, put a bit of heat in them. See how I go. They're only just touching, but by the time I put a gasket and everything there, it might be hitting. Yeah, about to put these lifters in. Heads are torqued down. It has got this is a Mopar big block high volume oil pump, and that's an adapter. The only problem I got with that is that by the time I put the oil filter on, it's going to start fouling on with that sway bar. So I might either have to space that down 25mm, which I don't think will be too much of a drama, or put a adapter on it and bring the lines up and out somewhere else. But I think I'll probably just do the spacer. Yeah, I'll put these lifters in anyway. So these lifters that I got are these Johnson lifters. What's the part number there? But they're just, I think they got like the oil gallery is a bit lower in them, so it doesn't, when they do come out on a bigger lift cam, it doesn't come out of there, so it keeps the oil pressure in. But yeah. I'll get the roller rockers now and I'll start looking at putting them on. Right, I've been pretty busy on this thing. Bolted these rockers on. They're giving me dramas, so they're actually hitting the valve retainer for touchable just as it touches the valve stem. So I end up buying some of these bloody valve lash caps, but now these lash caps bottom out and hit the lock before it hits the top of the stem. So I don't know whether I need to try and machine that down or what I'm going to do, or yeah, still looking at it. I've got the manifold bolted down, just used whatever bolts I could find for now. I've got other bolts coming. Fuel regulators in, I'll end up plumbing that into the existing lines because that's got a bypass on it, so I'll be able to go back through and hopefully use our electric fuel pump. Distributors in. I've been stripped that wiring harness out of the V6 and going through that slowly and obviously just trying to work out what goes where. I've run the starter motor cables around up through there and up through this hole down there, and I'll put some of that insulation over it. But this is holding me up at the moment, these rockers. I'm just, yeah, got to look for options. I'm not really sure what to do. This is only sitting on there at the moment, but been busy. So I did end up putting spacers up under here. That's a 12mm spacer in it. Now it's all filter's got a good finger in there. Gets a bit more when you lower it down. So that's all done. I did clean these, or fix these extractors. A bit of a gap up there now. It's not hitting. I did have to clearance the starter motor up there to clear them, and then I'm going to end up, well, put the insulation on that through there. That's not done properly yet. It's just sort of working out how to get it to where I need it to go. But that's where that starter motor wires run, and then come across the top of there, and then it'll end up going up through there. Hopefully a lot neater and tucked up and away in there in insulation. Yeah, everything else under here seems to be alright. So if these extractors end up actually cutting the plate off and then putting a new plate on there and shorten these by 10mm and reload it all back through there to get it to clear that gap down there. Yeah, gotten a bit done, waiting on a heap of parts from everything to turn up anyway. We're still waiting for the dipstick for the power glide and just odds and ends. So I pulled all the power steering lines off and I'm going to manualise that rack that's in there. I'm not going to have any power steering obviously, no aircon I don't think, unless I put a 12 volt compressor in there at a later stage. I just want to keep everything looking clean. Like obviously this will be all tidied up. Only thing I should have is the alternator sitting there, and then I'll try and run all these wires, whatever I work out I need or don't need, to get everything to work with the fan to kick in and out when it's supposed to kick in and out and stuff. But we've got the control box and everything for that still to wire in. But yeah, it's getting there. I've got to get wheels made for the back of it. So I'm going to get BCI wheels to make me a custom offset because that diff shortened. It's a funny offset just because that diff was actually going to go in this cream Commodore, but everything I was getting ready for this was not going to work for what I wanted anymore. But I cut these tubs out 75mm from the edge there, and then got another factory tub which I'd cut all the way to there and widen that. So when that's all done, it'll hopefully all look factory on both sides. That side's done on the front half, and then I'll get the same front half here and then bring it over and I'll blend it into the back of that one, so I've got a round tub there, and I'll have the same on that side, another round tub, so they all sort of look somewhat factory without the shock tower that's in it, and then should be all hunky-dory. So I've got that trans brake, got a plug put on that, and then the wires all pushed up through there. just cables just sitting on the inside of the car for now, and then worry about that later on, because that's a long time off before I use that. Alright, that's it. I've had enough for the night. Just going to have to wait on more parts and bits and pieces to turn up, and I'll just tinker away with little bits and pieces, and that'll be it for now, I think. So.